It's 1:30. The November 15th meeting of the Oklahoma City Traffic Commission is called to order. Anyone wishing to speak before the commission should fill out one of these blue slips. Sherry has these right over here. Please limit your talk to 5 minutes. Jim Witcher. Present. Dan Martin. Here. Walter Kula.
Here, sir.
Harvey Harris.
Here.
Jim Schuline.
Here.
Jolene Pittman. John May.
Here.
Milford J. Clayton. Item number 2 is approval of the minutes of the October 18th meeting. Do I have a motion?
So move.
I have a motion by Commissioner Clayton, seconded by Commissioner May, to approve the minutes of the October 18th meeting. Can I have your votes, please? Approved unanimously. Thank you. The report on licensed taxi and wrecker services will be in January. Item number 4 is the consent docket. Do I have a motion to approve the consent docket as presented? Is there anyone?
I suggested that we remove item E so we can discuss it.
From the consent docket?
From the consent docket,
okay.
Yes.
Tim Johnson? Johnson? And this is on item 4C. Are you in support of the? Yes. Thank you. I have a motion to remove item 4C from the consent docket. 4E. from the consent docket. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
We will consider item 4E immediately after the vote. Further discussion? Have a motion to approve the consent docket without item 4E.
A through D. So move.
Further discussion? Can I have your votes, please? Approved unanimously. Item 4E, the applicant is Rob Green, Valencia Homeowners Association, 1320 North Porter Place, Norman, Oklahoma. The request is to consider a request to establish no parking anytime restrictions on the following streets in the Valencia addition. Item 1, on the east side of Valencia Drive across the frontage of the Common Area Park located between Montoro Way and Northwest 181st Street. And 2, on the south side of Northwest 180th Street across the frontage of the common area located west of Andalusia Drive, from Andalusia Drive to a point approximately 130 feet west of Andalusia Drive. Is Mr. Green present? Have you filled out one of these blue forms, Mr. Green? No. If you'll come up and state your name and address for the record, and then fill out one of these forms after you've talked, please.
I'm Rob Green with Valencia HOA at 1320 North Porter, Norman, Oklahoma.
Could we have staff's summary, please?
Okay, you've got all the comments before you. I believe that Commissioner May has got some items that he would like to discuss on this, relative to this case.
You've got a nice-looking addition out there. I commend you on that.
Thank you.
The issue that I have is if we move or stop parking there by the park, where do we move the traffic? Where do we move the cars?
It's an excellent question. Through the current management of the HOA, there's been communication across the board sent to the homeowners as well as their guests to, verbally don't park there. If we were to install signs there, I've also submitted a proposal and also working with the developer to look at common area I for potential parking in the future.
Common area I.
Yes, sir. Lower. It'd be the southwest corner. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, then I can see the problem that we have with that is where you're eliminating the parking, that's direct access to the park, and then there is no direct access to the park because the rest of the sides are all built up with homes along the creek bed. And so there is no access except from that place where they're parking now. And so if you're going to provide parking as a separate function, I can agree with it, but otherwise, if you're just going to move them someplace else unknown, then I could not support this proposal. So you're saying you're moving it?
Well, I think, in foresight, if we did install signs there, it would at least eliminate a few numbers of cars and move to Northwest 180th, the side street, cross basically north of Common Area I. So it would take it from Andalusia and move it to the southwest on that side street, which is approximately almost the same distance as Andalusia.
That park actually looks like it's a walking area with a nice retention pond, then goes into a creek beyond that. But my concern is that you've got it set up for soccer, and then also there's a baseball netting set up so that you're going to have sports there. And if you have local teams, that's great. But if anybody's coming in to play your team, they usually get transported in and they have no place to park. And now you just compounded the problem because they can't park at the park. They're going to be parking in front of neighbors. You think the neighbors are going to be perturbed if they're not involved in that? Sure they will be. So I think you're just moving the problem. Now, the other thing is remove the soccer and the baseball field, which is one and the same right now. And then you wouldn't have that. It becomes a walking park rather than a congregating area. Now, I'd suggest you leave it as a soccer and baseball. I know my son participated in both and really enjoyed it, but there's still a parking issue. You're just moving vehicles from one location to another, and if you're going to put in a paved parking area, then that should help eliminate it.
May I speak? I believe if, we take one option of putting parking signs there and moving, like you say, to another residential side street in front of homeowners, the eliminating the danger value of it is the reason why I'm here representing today, is I think if cars were moved from Andalusia and move it, like you say, into another residential street, it would take the, the danger out of cars parking there with kids running across being an activity field. So, basically, in a nutshell, is that it is eliminating the parking there, but it will be moving the parking to elsewhere, whereas there are public streets, but it does take the risk out of that bend where traffic does flow pretty quickly, but it will move the cars in front of other homes, which I can understand that point of them not being happy, but it does eliminate the risk of the overall, purpose why I'm here is to, take out the danger aspect of that field and being used in traffic and pedestrians.
But your intent is to build some kind of a parking lot? Is that what you're saying?
That's not the intent. It was just a proposal that I'd be working with the developer on to look at what kind of permit obligations we have for, if it's even an option. But it's just a simple proposal.
I would, if I could make a motion that we grant this subject to them providing at least paved parking off-street for at least 20 vehicles.
If you want to, do you want to leave it as is until that is provided?
That's right. No changes until the alternative parking is provided.
So the request would be to deny this.
Well, I was trying to grant it subject to.
Well, the only thing we can consider today, is to approve or disapprove the no parking. You can give them a reason.
Then I'd recommend disapproval.
You can give them a reason for doing that, for not approving it, and then have them bring it back when the parking is provided.
That's fine.
Sir, I just want to make sure it's clear the way I read it. They're only asking to stop parking on one side of the street. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And it's the side of the street that's on the park side.
Yes, sir. The
What it looks
northbound.
like.
It is only one side, but if you take a look at that street, that's the whole access to the park.
Right, and
The
the reason why you wanted that side of the street with no parking is because that's where the kids are playing and...
Yeah, necessarily, if you park on the south side, it basically opens your view to the whole park and the road right away. So you can see traffic coming.
And do we have any input from the people on that, the Rancho Drive and that circle area?
Serrado
Input about
Circle.
extra park, any concerns from them?
No concerns. There's no driveways fronting Andalusia from that portion on the corner of 180th and Andalusia.
Well, even if cars were to go into that cul-de-sac turn circle area and park, you don't think there'd be problems with the homeowners?
I believe not. It's been mentioned from a number of homeowners that they'd rather obviously have cars parked there instead of on that bend, just because they're the ones that mainly use Andalusia and coming home to and from work, and mainly they're the ones that really highlight the problem that the cars are parked there.
Okay. And then the last question I had is why did you pick that road here just left of common area 1I, the 3 dots there? Why did you pick that side of the street, not the other side of the street for that one? Is that because that's a common area also?
It is a common area, and I don't know why those 3 dots were there. I foresee why the other dots, and I don't know why that one bled onto Northwest 180th.
Well, that's one of your things is on the south side of 180th, across from the frontage area for 130 feet. That's part of your request.
The only notion I made regarding common area I is a future potential parking lot.
So is your request to also stop parking on 180th?
No, sir.
But that's what's in the package.
Yeah, so that's something I didn't apply for. So just my parking would only be along, no parking would be only along Andalusia.
That's all you really want from the homeowners association?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
In my contention is that what's going to happen if there's not alternative parking off-street, you're going to have that circle drive parked up, people having difficulty getting in and getting out, even for emergency vehicles. And you're going to have 180th parked up because it's a cul-de-sac, and again, people getting in, getting out.
Does the homeowners association covenant allow for parking in common area I?
In the language of the covenant, it says no parking on East Street in the beginning. So it says, in the covenants and restrictions of Valencia HOA item, it says no parking in Valencia streets at all. That's something that was just written in by attorney. Now, I understand they are public, so that just really helps me, mandate and, enforce the rules to help with that. But in this case, it means that field is used for, public activity and, Valencia activity as well. So no, there's nothing written in there that, I can basically enforce, per city code to remove their cars from there. Is that what you're asking?
Well, more along the lines of what is the area, common area I to be used for? Is that stated in the covenant that it can or cannot be used as a parking lot?
No, I believe it was an option through our development department at Ideal Homes to use that as common area, but there are a few, permits that need to be pulled and guidelines in order to be a parking lot as far as outlets are concerned, and I think that was something the development department did not want to do at the time.
Okay. Any of the commissioners have more questions for the applicant? Would you restate your motion, Commissioner May?
Based on your comments, I request that we decline this offer at this time for no parking on that side.
I have a motion to deny item 4E. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
I have a motion by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Harris, to deny item 4E. Further discussion? Could I have your votes, please? Denied unanimously. Thank you.
Yep.
This takes us to the items 5 for individual consideration. Item 5A, Michael J. Feuerborn, 3825 Northwest 52nd Street, Oklahoma City, 73112. Consider establishing all-way stop control at the intersection of North Rolfe Avenue and Northwest 52nd Street. Mr. Feuerborn?
Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank all of you for considering this proposal. And thank you for the work that you've done. You did quite a bit of work as far as traffic surveys and research on accidents and what have you, and I greatly appreciate that, and all the people of the neighborhood appreciate your work also. And I'm here primarily because of a safety issue, and I have read your conclusions here, and I'll try to be brief on this. The two main considerations, as I see it, that your committee is concerned with on this intersection, as far as putting a three-way stop sign at this intersection, has to do with volume, traffic volume, and also possibly accident history. Well, I can understand that, and I understand you have to have parameters go by. We all have to have parameters to go by with everything, it seems like. But in this case, volume, traffic volume at this intersection is really not an issue. If you had, and I know that according to what you wrote here, it doesn't meet a certain level of volume. Well, if you had that level of volume and everybody was going 10 miles an hour through that intersection, there would be no problem. at all. But even if you have a smaller volume and everybody's racing through that intersection, then you got a big problem, and that's what we've got here. We've got a severe speed problem, but that's not all the issues that you guys need to be aware of. First of all, there has been increased volume at this intersection on Roth Street primarily because of a stoplight that was put in on Portland Avenue to allow traffic to get into Deaconess Hospital. That happened some years ago. There was a noticeable increase in traffic on Roth. And the reason for that is because people were taking Roth to bypass that light, bypass Deaconess Hospital, and get down to 50th Street. So there was somewhat of an increase in volume there. But the biggest problem is that if you look at this intersection, I don't know if you can see that very well. Wish we had a little bit better shot of that, but maybe I can point it out to you. Well, I was hoping we had a chalkboard here, but on either side of this intersection, 52nd and Roth, to the north, you've got about a 4 or 5 or 6 block straightaway going into this intersection. To the south, you've got a 2-block straightaway. There is nothing in that area, either side, to slow down traffic. They will hit that intersection at 40 miles an hour, 45 miles an hour. And
Mr. Fieldborn, if you'd speak into the microphone, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
They hit that intersection at 40-plus miles per hour. And I say this with confidence because on Roth there are actually 2 police officers that live on Roth. Probably shouldn't even mention their name. I'd probably get in trouble. But if you want to know their name, I can talk to you afterwards. But one of the guys clocked somebody here recently at 43 miles per hour on Roth, and that's a tame. That is by the way a tame, in my view, speed compared to what I've seen on Roth. And our thinking, and I have to say that this is the majority of people around this intersection, the vast majority of people around this intersection. Our thinking is that the only way to slow down people coming into 52nd and Roth intersection is to have a 3-way stop sign up there. At this point, there are no signs whatsoever on that intersection. Yes, there are posted speed limits, 25 miles per hour on Roth both ways. But I can tell you that nobody, unless it's somebody that lives in that area, pays any attention to them. I have people on Roth Street that are actually getting out on Roth yelling at people to slow down every day. Now then, other factors that are very, very important on this intersection. I still can't see what I need to point out up there, but just to the south, okay, you see where the little circle is at right there, where the intersection is at, and the triangle just to the south of there. Right where that triangle is at, that is a regular school bus stop. Twice a day, that school bus stops right there, and there are all kinds of kids in the street, around that intersection. And it happens right during the busy part of the day, 4, 4:30, 3:30, right in that neighborhood, twice a day. Plus the fact that there are no sidewalks whatsoever on Roth or 52nd, and that neighborhood is full of retired people, geriatric people, and a lot of them walk, and they all walk in the street because there's no sidewalks. So you've got the fact that you've got all kinds of people in that intersection at bad times. You've also got older people that are walking in that on those streets to make it even more hazardous. So, and also one last thing I might say is that right south of that intersection, you can see there's a curve there. Well, it's kind of a blind corner because people park on either side of the street right there, and if there's anybody parked right there where that circle is at, you cannot see around that corner, which makes it even more hazardous. So, gentlemen and ladies, I am just hoping that, and I understand that you've got rules and parameters to go by, but I would ask the question, if we don't put a three-way stop sign up there, how do we slow the traffic down? And if we don't put the stop signs up there, why not put them up there? I mean, what is the harm in putting those up there? So anyway, I'm just trying to prevent. We had a severe case there several years ago. A young man, I think it was on 51st and Sepulpa, which is about 3 blocks just south of there. Young man was killed at a three-way intersection similar to this one, and stop signs were put up shortly thereafter at that intersection. And I'm just trying to prevent a similar action. So anyway, that's my case, and I'm sorry I wasn't the smoothest, but if you've got any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn.
Sure.
Could I have staff's report, please?
Okay, you've got our full written report before you. I'll just point out that the vicinity map of existing traffic controls on Roth Avenue shows what is in place in the neighborhood, and you can see that just at Northwest 51st Street there is an all-way stop, which is just basically 2 blocks to the south. Because there are a few traffic collisions, low traffic volumes, and good visibility at the intersection, staff notes that the intersection does not meet the criteria set forth for considering all-way stop control. And therefore, what we would recommend would be the installation of a yield sign on Northwest 52nd Street to assign the right-of-way at this intersection.
Okay, I have a comment on that. First of all, in the weeks prior to the Hindenburg going down, the Graf Zeppelin Company assured the flying public that there was no problem flying hydrogen in big balloons. It took the Hindenburg going down and lost a lot of lives before they quit using hydrogen and went back to helium in big balloons. So the accident thing here, I think, is insignificant. That's history. I think what you got to look at is a changed situation here. This is a changed situation, and I think you've got a threat of a pretty severe occurrence here, which is what I'm trying to prevent, and everybody in the neighborhood is trying to prevent.
Thank you, Mr. Fearborn.
Sure.
Commissioner Richard, comments?
Mr. Fearborn,
Sure.
your concern is primarily about speed of traffic on Roth, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the four-way stop at Northwest 51st Street doesn't seem to do anything for the speed of traffic on Roth?
No. It's too far south, and they just hit the accelerator and fly right on through there.
Okay, so what's the likelihood that all-way control at 52nd is going to be any more advantageous to that?
Well, if it doesn't slow them down, they're going to have to run the stop signs. I mean, there's got to be some obstruction there, and our hope. Now, the only other thing is to put speed bumps up there, or put a traffic cop out there permanently. And I would bet you that if you put a police officer on Roth just to the north of that intersection for one day, he would go through a dozen ticket books.
That's often a strategy where we don't have the numbers to support actually adding stop controls. That's often a strategy, is to ask the police department to try to increase their presence there for a time and see if that has a good effect.
It would work while somebody was there. When they're gone, it ain't gonna help any. So I don't know. Everyone, including myself, would think that a three-way stop at that intersection would at least slow down the traffic to, particularly with the school bus stopped right there, with all the old people walking. We would hope that having that three-way stop there would prevent somebody from getting run over and hopefully slow them down. Maybe it won't. I don't know. But I don't know of a better, and I'll say this, I think a yield sign on 52nd Street would make things worse, because if there was a yield sign coming from the east at 52nd and Roth, that just gives people on Roth an even greater right-of-way to go through that intersection at high speed, knowing that they've got the right-of-way. And 52nd is the yield. So I would say, if we don't do the stop sign thing, we sure don't want to do the yield sign thing.
Any of the other commissioners have questions for Mr. Feuerborn?
Looks like in the petition, everybody checked off yes, that they would like to have this done. Yes. Did you run into opposition on that at all?
Absolutely none. No one. Well, let me say this. There was one lady, Mrs. I can't think of her name. She's over 90 years old. She's been in the neighborhood since it was built, and she did not feel comfortable signing anything, which I understand that because my mother's the same way, and she wouldn't sign it. But I told her what we were doing, and there were two other households in that neighborhood that were notified. We couldn't locate either the owner or anybody that was living there. I think they were both rentals, but we couldn't contact anybody at the home. So they were notified by mail of what we were doing.
Okay, thank you.
But everybody else enthusiastically signed that petition when we told them what we were doing.
Well, who's next?
Go ahead.
Okay. I applaud your effort, and I believe wholeheartedly by the map, although I was out there and there was no traffic during the day, but that they're using it to bypass Deaconess or cut off the 50th Street intersection entirely and go on their merry way west on 50th. Mm-hmm. But so I would support the three-way stop sign there, because even though stop signs are not for speed control, they're technically for right-of-way. That's all we got in our arsenal. We can't park a cop there all the time, a police officer, pardon me. But so I would support that motion.
I'm sorry, I don't have a motion yet. Commissioner May?
Mr. Feuerborn, I appreciate you coming today and being so well prepared. And also, your letter has this bold print on it for us old folks on the committee.
Include me on that, because I can't see a damn thing.
And this becomes a judgment call. So whether it's for you or against you, from the point of view, it's not really against you. It's what's the best for that area, that intersection. And so it's a judgment call. So don't look at it from the point of view you won or you lost. It's one of those issues, how do we improve the area?
Sure.
So we thank you for coming out.
Okay, thank you very much.
And I'll make a motion to approve stop signs at the intersection.
Second.
I have a motion on 5A by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Martin, to approve the all-way control at the intersection of North Rolfe Avenue and Northwest 52nd Street. Further discussion? Could I have your votes, please? Approved.
Mr. Miller, could we also ask, though, to maybe have some additional police presence in that area to see if we could help some of this issue, because stop signs don't do a lot for speeding, I think.
Thank you, Jim. Item 5B, the applicant is Lawrence A. Cates, P.E., Lawrence A. Cates and Associates, LLP, 14800 Quorum Drive, Suite 200, Dallas, Texas. The request is to consider the installation of a traffic signal at the proposed intersection of North May Avenue and Northwest 52nd Street.
Good afternoon. My name is Lawrence A. Cates, 14800 Quorum, Dallas, Texas. I'm here representing Hunt Properties and Target Corporation with this request for the traffic signal at May and the extension of 52nd. I'm really here to answer any questions you may have. Our traffic consultant is here as well. I only had one comment. I noticed in the staff report that any approval be tied to the approval of rezoning of the site, and we're actually not rezoning or requesting a rezoning of the old Smickless site. It's existing C3, and our intent right now is to keep it as that. So that would be my only comment.
Could I have staff's report, please?
All right, you've got our list of recommendations before you. We'd recommend that if a traffic signal is improved at this location, that it would include the roadway improvements on May Avenue as described within the study summary. And these improvements consist of the modification of May Avenue to provide a southbound left turn bay with at least 150 feet of storage at the new intersection, which may involve the widening of North May Avenue. The study notes that the commercial development on the east side of May Avenue, specifically the Target store, will be responsible for the construction of a driveway on May Avenue opposite the proposed extension of 52nd Street. The signal constructed at the intersection needs to make provision for this driveway by the installation of all signal equipment and, at minimum, at least the driveway approach on the east side of May Avenue in order to minimize the impact to the traveling public by constructing all of the roadway improvements that will affect traffic at the same time. So this work will include the modification of May Avenue north of the proposed intersection in order to build that southbound left turn lane.
Wayne Russell, did you wish to speak?
I'm here to answer questions.
And Rob Ciren, C-I-R-E-N. Oh, okay. Okay. Commissioner Martin?
Yeah. Mr. Cates, this proposed intersection, so you're representing property owners on both sides of May?
That is correct.
Okay. So Target's on board with this, moving their interest?
Right now, they're on board with it. It's kind of going to depend upon the final cost of it, I'm sure, but we've been authorized to actually make this request with Target. That's correct.
Okay. Well, any development that could improve the vacant, car lot, we would sure applaud. And so, and that that intersection would be close to the on-ramp to, I guess, would be eastbound Northwest Highway, relatively close. But I don't have anything. There's nothing opposing it in the staff's report. So I will make a motion for approval.
I've got a comment.
Okay.
Before. Okay, I was going to say let's get a motion in a second, and then we'll open it up for further discussion. I have a motion to approve 5B with staff's recommendations. Is that correct? By Commissioner Martin, seconded by yes. Okay. Thank you. Further discussion?
I've been out there, and my son's in the automobile business, so I'm looking at 52nd Street, and it's not even a completed street. It's a half street. When I say half street, the normal width of the street, if you come down from Brookline going east, you go down that street, then you have to curve over because you only got half a street left. So I'm wondering why we need a traffic light, $100,000 deal, at this intersection when you got a half a street. Besides that, the people on Brookline can very easily go down Brookline to 50th Street. If they want to get into Target, they go east on 50th Street to the intersection. The intersection's got the traffic lights that are needed to protect them. They go north and they swing on into Target. I just can't believe that we would be asking for a $100,000 solution for that location. Be quite candid with you.
To answer one of your comments, 52nd Street does stop right now short of May Street. The right-of-way stops short. The development, part of the development plan would be to extend 52nd Street from where it stops over to May Street in line with the new Target driveway.
Mm-hmm. I would encourage all of you to go out there and take a look at it, because if you say you're going to approve a $100,000 deal at that location, you'd be embarrassed. I'm going to tell you, I looked at it. I couldn't believe 52nd Street. I used to work at the Union Bank, also known as the Onion Bank for some people, but Union Bank, and I know where 52nd Street is. I use it as a shortcut periodically, but it's not a completed street. And my reaction is, if the developer wants to complete it, then fine, put that traffic light in the development plan and do it that way, rather than having the city put in a stoplight, which is just 2 blocks north of the intersection, 50th and May Avenue. The other thing is, if you're coming out of that going east and you want to go north, there's nothing that says you can't right now. You've got to go across 2 lanes of traffic going south, which are hazardous, because May Avenue, my namesake, obviously, but May Avenue is, that was a joke, okay, is very busy. And then between that 2 lanes going south and the 2 lanes going north, there's a left turn lane for both left turn into the old Schmicklish Chevrolet, but also a left turn lane into Target, which is really compounds the problem. So you're not looking at just...
Let me interrupt you for just a moment, because I think staff's proposal for this is private funding.
Well, but private funding along with the development. If you put in a street light there now, people would laugh you off the street. If it's going with the development, as they develop that area, then fine. But to approve this separately, not in conjunction with the development, that means this can go forward and the development could delay, and you got a street light that is really obnoxious. Not only obnoxious, but doesn't fit. The taxpayers of the city would be asking, why are we spending $100,000 when you could be spending right now, put up a no left turn sign at that same intersection and make everybody go to the right, and you got the problem, at least at the intersection, resolved, until the developer completes the development along with the light. That's what I'm trying to marriage the two, rather than having a light separate that we're putting in, that maybe the developer completes that, maybe they don't, that's their plans, but they could be completing it a year, 2 years, 3 years later. That doesn't make sense. Not to me, it doesn't.
You mean to have a light up there for a number of years, possibly without the development to justify the light?
That's right.
Yeah. Stuart, it may be in here and I missed it, but what's the impact on traffic that is on eastbound traffic off of Northwest Expressway that's coming down and pointed south on May Avenue? If we have a light there, are we potentially kind of backing stuff up?
Well, if you go through the details of the staff report on the second page of the recommendations, there's noted that the city is embarking on an ITS project, which is kind of a citywide basis of coordinating and the operation of traffic signals. We've got signals there's at May Northwest 50th, then there's at United Founders. So, I mean, there's a few that are already on May Avenue in that area. And what this project will ultimately do is coordinate their operation along the major corridors. And right now, as far as traffic coming off the expressway, that eastbound to southbound movement is controlled by a yield sign as it merges with May Avenue. Chances are that this signal will probably be green for the most part on May Avenue, especially during the early morning periods, because usually these commercial operations don't open up all that early, so the chance of that signal having very much interference to May Avenue is probably on the low side. So initially, even before the signals get coordinated, I wouldn't imagine that there's going to be too much in the way of interference. And I want to add one other thing, that the improvements at the intersection and the installation of this signal is tied to that development. So, I mean, if that development doesn't move forward, there won't be. I would tend to think they'd be hard pressed to spend, to invest the money.
If it's independent of each other, then there's no way that I could support it.
Right, and I think that you can get that from the developer. I think could talk to that better than I can.
I think I can speak for both properties in Target in that if the development doesn't go, 52nd Street will not be extended, and there will be no need for that signal. So we will file a final plat after the improvements are done to that development. They're planning on wiping off the old Smeckless. That won't look anything like it looks today, I can assure you. And part of the final plat would be extension of some water and sanitary sewer to that parcel, as well as the extension of 52nd Street, the improvements to May as necessary to put in the turn lane, but all that will work together. And that project will not get started until those improvements are ready to go and approved by the city.
Well, I honestly think it's a good idea, but the way it stands right now, if to put in a stoplight or a signal light there would be a waste of taxpayer money right now. If you go to the point where you're tying it to the development, and as you develop 52nd Street, because it's really, and I think you have to agree with me, it's a half street right now, where it borders out on May Avenue.
It stops about 200 feet short of May.
Yeah. And so if it's tied to your development, I have no problem. As you do the development, that means that fine will be. But if it's a standalone thing where we're going to put on a listing and we get it done subject to your development coming there, I can't agree with that.
Well, I can assure you Hunt is not going to put the signal in if the development is not ready to go. And they've already got some users ready, but I can't speak for that. But I can pretty well assure you, I've only been doing this for about 35 years, and I've never seen a developer yet that would spend that kind of money and not have somebody to go into that development. So I don't know how you tie the signal to the development. It couldn't be through zoning like you had, I think, Stuart, in the deal, because we are not going to rezone, or it's not the intent to rezone.
Well, ultimately, you'll have an item that goes to the Planning Commission for dedication of right-of-way.
That is correct. It has to be the final plat that I had to dedicate right-of-way for 52nd Street.
Commissioner Martin, does your motion still stand as stated? And your second still stands, Mr. Clayton? Further discussion? Questions of Mr. Cates or Mr. Russell?
Do we have the motion restated?
Would you restate your motion, Commissioner Martin?
I will make a motion to approve item 5B of the installation of the traffic signal at Northwest 52nd and May with the improvements on May Avenue as indicated in the staff report.
I have a motion to approve item 5B as mentioned in the staff's recommendation, seconded by Commissioner Martin, seconded by Commissioner Clayton. Further discussion? Could I have your votes, please? Approved unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Cates. Item 5C, the applicant is Krista Murphy, Vice President, Mustang Creek Homeowners Association, 2125 Dogwood Creek, Yukon, Oklahoma. Consider establishing stop control at the following intersections. 1, all-way stop control at Dogwood Creek Avenue and Southwest 20th Street. Item 2, all-way stop control at Dogwood Creek Avenue and Southwest 21st Street. Item 3 is northbound stop control on Mulberry Creek Avenue at Southwest 20th Street. And item 4 is southbound stop control on Mulberry Creek Avenue at Southwest 21st Street.
Good afternoon. I'm not Krista. I'm Kristen Richter. Krista could not make it this afternoon, but I'm also with the HOA.
If you'd state your address for the record, please.
Sure. It's 10800 Southwest 20th Street.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And really, our main desire is to control the speed on 20th and 21st. There are 2 ways going in, 2 ways going out. And right now, and actually on this, we don't wish to control the north and southbound. We want to control east and westbound traffic. We have a phase that just opened up in the very back of our addition, so we have people coming in, scouting out lots. We also have various developers coming in with big trucks and traffic. And I also know for a fact that there are some people that are doing suspicious things back in the back where there is nothing right now that I've actually had to call the police on a couple of times. But we wish to control the traffic east and westbound on 20th and 21st instead of north and southbound. And I know earlier, Mr. Martin, you mentioned that speed control, not stop signs, maybe speed bumps, I'm not sure. So whatever all of you think is best, that's what we wish to do. We have a lot of children in the neighborhood. We have had no accidents. We don't want any accidents. On one street alone, there are 17 children. And I know in the report that it says that there were low traffic volumes, but the traffic counters were put out last December, so we did not have a lot of traffic, just due to the weather and the cold and everything else. I suggest that if you do want to count traffic again, do it anywhere from April to October. We have a lot of people, it seems to be in that time frame, going back in the back.
This has been continued several months. Is there any particular reason?
I brought home my preemie daughter from the hospital, and I didn't realize I was the only one that could do it. So I'm sorry.
I mean, well, I'm not blaming you for that, but I mean,
oh, no,
from
you're
August.
Fine.
I mean, from August on. I mean, but the applicant couldn't make it either for any of those months?
I guess not.
Okay. Oh, please don't misinterpret that.
No.
That was just a question.
Sure.
I'm sorry. Could we have staff summary, please?
Okay, you've got the comments in front of you. You've got our analysis based on the city's standing warrants for the use of all-way and one-way stop control. The reason why this north and south stop control was called out on the intersections that were to the west on Mulberry Creek was because the way the application arrived, it was indicated to us, or we interpreted the fact that they were looking for just north-south stops at those locations as opposed to east-west or all-way. At this point in time, Ms. Richter has indicated that they've got continuing development in the area, and I might suggest that what we could do is, re-review the area and bring back some updated traffic counts to see if maybe anything might be justified. But at this point in time, with the low volumes that we have, there's no way that we can make any recommendations for anything other than the yield controls that we installed back in February.
Ms. Richter, in the photographs that I see here, looks like there's still some vacant property in the area.
Yes, there are a lot of vacant properties.
Is there ongoing construction in the area?
Yes. Like I said, they just released the lots on Pine Creek, Redbud, and I'm not sure even what that last street is, Sycamore. And so we have a lot of heavy machinery going back in and out, moving dirt, the gas lines, and all kinds of things. I'm not even sure what they do, but we have a lot of traffic going back in the area. And like I said, we also unfortunately have some suspicious activity. I know because my husband and I will go out for a walk, and there will be cars parked back there. We actually had drag races one night back there where I had to call the police. So I guess kids just know that this is an area that they can go goof off and do whatever unsupervised, but it's a danger for our children. And I know in the next couple of months there will be more construction back on those 3 streets.
Well, this is in my ward. I was out of town this weekend and wasn't able to visit the area. I personally like staff's recommendations of deferring this for 6 months. Would that cause you any heartache or grief if we did that and revisited this, get some updated traffic volumes?
It would not cause us heartache, just as long as, in a couple of months you would at least revisit it. We really just want to control the traffic, so as long as we could once again revisit this, we'd be okay with it.
We might ask the Oklahoma City Police Department to monitor that area as resources are available.
That would be excellent if you don't
And
mind.
see if the late night stuff, the stop signs aren't going to have any bearing on that, of course, but, a police presence is always helpful, I think.
We would appreciate that. And like I said, if you would just consider, during the warmer months, because we don't have a lot of activity back there, so starting about April or May, traffic counts.
Right, and I think what would be best to do is to see how much more construction's gone on, because the winter months aren't the best for us to gather traffic counts, but we'll certainly bring something back closer to, the 6-month time period. Because this way we've got the opportunity to review historic counts, new counts, and we could also conduct a speed study at the same time.
Okay.
Do I have a motion?
I would make that recommendation that we delay it for 6 months and do a traffic study.
Second.
I have a motion on item 5C to defer for 6 months by Commissioner Harris, seconded by Commissioner May. Is there further discussion? Questions of Ms. Richter? If not, could I have your votes, please? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, approved unanimously. Thank you. Item 5D, the applicant is Tom L. McCaleb, P.E., SMC Consulting Engineers, P.C., 815 West Main Street, Oklahoma City. The request is to consider parking and loading zone changes at the following intersections. Does everyone have a copy of these? I'm going to refer to these as items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Mr. Miller, I need to recuse myself from this agenda item.
Thank you. Mr. McCaleb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Tom McCaleb. I'm the engineer and representative of the applicant. This application...
Mr. McCaleb, would you please state your address for the record?
815 West Main.
Thank you.
Oklahoma, right down the street. Mr. Witcher is the architect on the project that I'm representing. So he's the brains. So we are redeveloping the property, as you see on your map there, between 2nd and 3rd Walnut in Oklahoma. That project is going to be a 4-story residential/commercial facility, which we're requesting you to change the parking that's there. It's right now it's parallel parking. And I think it's in your staff report, a very good colored slide of how it is. There's 19 parking spaces there, I believe, and we're going to increase it to 43, so we're going to get about 20 more parking spaces. A little bit easier to park with angle parking, and that's the substance of our request. On the one corner there, we got a commercial load-in area that we've visited with Mr. Chai and Mr. Clowers about. of the commercial at the bottom of that one intersection. So that is the substance of our application, is to take the existing parking that you've already built, which looks real nice, and we're going to build it angled and still make it look nice. So I'll be glad to respond to any questions.
Could I have staff's summary, please?
Okay, as you can see, the request is presented as not a substantial change from the parking that's previously been constructed in the area. We will note that the Commission did act previously in this area to regulate the parking so that it's 2-hour parking, which is applicable from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday. The only other changes that are being proposed are the addition of 2 commercial loading zones, which we would recommend to be signed with a 30-minute time restriction, since that's consistent with the other commercial loading zones in the downtown area. And they have asked for 3 parking spaces to be reserved for the physically handicapped. And that would be in accordance with the municipal code regulations governing the Commission, the City Council's selection of the number of spaces that can be assigned on any given block to be reserved for the physically disabled. So we would recommend approval as submitted with those stipulations.
And that is for all 8 items?
Yes.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
I have a motion by Commissioner May, seconded by Commissioner Schuline, to approve item 5D as presented by staff, following staff's recommendations. Further discussion? Questions?
My only concern is that we have enough disabled parking in the area. Because it seems like that we kind of miss up on that, and I noticed that you've got them on 2 sides of the street, but not. I didn't see one on the 3rd side. It may be there. I just didn't see it.
I think they're not. I think we got one that right there on 2nd Street. It's where that people on the. Have you got that slide? I don't remember if the slide's showing or not, but I think we went back and recalculated the parking requirements. I think we got one more than we need.
Okay.
Meet code.
Well, that was my concern, the disability parking. Seems like
we got it in the van accessible.
Yep. Thank you.
Further discussion, comments? Could I have your votes, please? Approved?
Thank you.
Thank you. That is all of the items for individual consideration. That takes us to items number 7, and those are reports and other items from traffic commissioners, traffic commission committees, staff, and the municipal counselor's office. I don't have an item 6. We skipped item 6. I didn't have one, but my counterpart does, so that will take us to comments from citizens. Tawana Valencia.
Tawana Valencia, 3511 Charleston Road, Norman, Oklahoma. I'm with A1 Taxi, and I'll keep this very, very short. I was actually going to just send an email and had the wrong email address. I know we have tons of construction going on downtown, and so there's no way until some of that kind of clears up that we can really do anything. But just to kind of let you know, I was on the taxi task force, and we, I think, did a great job at making it easier for taxi companies to come in. Something we didn't discuss in them, though, was what to do with them when they got here, provisions for them, more taxi stands, things along that nature. Last month, actually, when it was reported, so it would have been for the month before that, there were 22 brand-new taxi permits given out. And I imagine we follow suit this month, too. So we don't just have crossovers, which is normal when a new one comes in, but we've got brand-new people that are coming in. And so the area down there, taxi stands, is getting it's getting to be an issue. And like I said, I know right now we've got so much construction that it's like Mr. Chai said, if we did something next week, it would be different. So we're going to have to let that kind of clear down some. But in the near future, we are going to have to maybe discuss some alternatives to these issues. And that's really all I have to say.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Are you saying that the flow of the cabs are so fast that by holding, and I think like the one down by the actual ballpark holds like 4, are you saying that the need for taxis are so great for stands that they're rolling so fast that cabs can't even pull up, and that, or meaning like we need to go to 6 or 8 spots for the stand because there's so much flow going on, or more stands? Is it more place to put cabs or more places for people to get one quicker? What's the
Well, I think they kind of work together. We need more, there's more taxis out there running on down here, so we need more places for them to park. Right now, they're putting money in meters and...
So is the problem that they're waiting and not being used, or is it that they're...
Sometimes I believe that's the problem, yeah, is that there's more out there, and especially right now, this time of year is a slower time for taxis.
Okay.
So they have they're building up, they're backing up, there's no place for them to get. And it's the same at the airport. There's so many have been put out at the airport that it's just, they're going to have to find a holding area, and they're working on that. But it's the same in downtown. There's just no provisions for all the taxis that are coming in now. The stands that were there that were sufficient before, we need more of them.
Well, is it, so you're saying on your side of the line, on the taxi cab ownership side of the line, you need more room to have taxis park compared to on our side on having enough taxis available for the riders?
Right. I think we're accomplishing that task. We do have more taxis out there. Like I said, 22 brand new ones.
Right.
So they are coming. We're getting more taxis in, but we just don't have a place for them.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Valencia. Any other citizens wishing to speak? Please state your name and address.
My name is Jaffer Najm, 4345 Southwest 29th, Oklahoma City, 73119. I'm the CEO of Thundercab. I had no intentions of speaking over here. I had actually just come for the request we had put in for 100 more licenses. But in answer to Ms. T's request, cabbing over here is done very, very differently. Sitting cabs and empty cabs don't make any money. Putting stands in the city will not make any difference. There will be more cabs coming in. The question is, what are the companies doing to generate business? Business will not come in downtown or at the airport. You've got the third largest city in the United States. We're spread all the way out from Yukon to Edmond to Norman. Companies have to invest money in their advertising, in their marketing. So in 5 years, what has A1 done to generate business for their drivers? Drivers shouldn't be sitting in downtown. There shouldn't be 40 drivers sitting in downtown. They should be everywhere. They should be at 23rd and MacArthur at the Walmart. They should be 36th and at the Buy for Less. They should be doing their job. I don't even see this as an issue. There is no issue whatsoever that we're discussing over here that if you want to talk about the new cabs or new drivers coming in, they're coming in these old companies. Not in the new companies. Ironically, the new companies are getting the old drivers because the old drivers are not able to make their money. In 2010, moving forward in 2011, the old systems just don't work. Their dispatch systems don't work, period. So the drivers have no choice but to line up in downtown. How many can we line up in downtown? This is Oklahoma City. This is not Chicago. This is not New York. You have 3 hotels. Your bookings at the hotels is less than 41% right now. How many are you going to line up? You've got 4 airlines. We're not a hub at the airport. The holding, the bullpen, so to speak, only holds 42 vehicles. That includes Thundercabs, Yellow, A1, and Airport Express, a shuttle company. Within a few months, you're going to have another shuttle company come into Oklahoma City. Then what? Then we're going to say, well, let's extend the airport. We would love to. I would love Southwest or American Airlines to make Oklahoma City a hub. We'll solve all these problems. But the key point is for the companies to work for the drivers, generate the business. They will not be sitting in downtown. They do not leave their house at 2:30 in the morning to sit in downtown and enjoy the scenic view. They come out to work. They want to start their vehicles, go have someone in the back seat, drop them, and then they're looking at their radios or their data phones or whatever system they have that, where do I go next? That's how our business works. So with due respect, I find that argument totally redundant. We need to focus on what the business is, do our homework, how that business works, how that industry works. That's a basic question of Business 101. We do our homework, we have no problem. We don't do our homework, we can come up with these childish arguments on a daily basis. Because the key point is there will be more vehicles coming in. At least on our side, another 100 vehicles of Thundercab, then another 50 shuttles at the airport. Very, very soon. Because there's a need for that. The business is out there, but it's not going to fall in our laps. Someone's got to go out and get it. If we can get it in 9 weeks, we can put out 40 vehicles with drivers. Drivers are happy. That's all we've been here for, launched out live 9 weeks. We filed in for 40 licenses. We've got 11 vehicles parked in the garage ready to go out the moment these licenses go ahead, with the drivers lined up. By Thursday, we'll be at 51. So we have no problem. Our drivers have no problem making their money. But yes, the key is Thundercab had to invest a tremendous amount of money and time and effort into going into the city and putting ourselves out, making sure that we're working for the driver so that our phones are ringing, so that we're giving the business out. Someone's going to beat the 7-Eleven, and it's a mama-papa grocery store. You have to have the inventory inside. You don't have the inventory, but you want to say why the 7-Elevens are popping up every 3/4 of a mile. They're doing what needs to be done. That's why. So thank you very much for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank him for his comments, both of them. The thing that I saw with being on the taxi commission was the fact that if you can get a taxi company that is clean cabs along with a driver, and if you can get a reliable taxi plus reasonably priced, you're going to be successful. You can meet those 3 things. And the last one, reasonably priced, I'd pay up if I knew that I was going to get into a good, clean cab and it's reliable. I need to have a ride at 9 o'clock and it's there at 2 minutes to 9. It takes me where I need to go. And so I think cab companies need to look at those 3 things. Are they clean, their cabs? Nobody wants to get into a dirty cab. Nobody. And are they reliable? And are they reasonably priced? And with that, I really believe they can all be successful. Thank you.
That takes us to item number 7, reports and other items from traffic commissioners, traffic commission committees, staff, and the municipal councilor's office. Commissioner Martin?
No comment.
Commissioner Kula?
Yes, sir. I'd like to recommend that our local law enforcement, especially with the vehicles for hire, the department, now that Chapter 56 is out and we have our 3rd actual cab company, that they make contact with the 3 cab companies and all the requirements that the new Chapter 56 has, especially some of the old requirements about 24-hour coverage, 7-day-a-week coverage, walk-ups if they're in a stand and somebody walks up and they want to go just a block. You know, that kind of conversation makes sure that all 3 companies understand what Chapter 56 talks about. And then at some point, do some random check-in to make sure everybody's doing what all they have to do. So if I could pass that along to the vehicle for hire people, please. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Kula. Commissioner Harris?
Nothing at this time.
Commissioner Schuline?
Nothing, thank you.
Commissioner May?
I've talked enough, but I've got 3 other things I need to say. One of which is I think that the Traffic Department and under Stewart has done an excellent job of putting together this packet of information, and I applaud you for it, and thank you. Second thing is I wanted to wish you all a nice Thanksgiving, enjoy it, and third, I'd be remiss, but my bride of 39 years will have her birthday on Thanksgiving, the day that she was born, so she's about 7 years old if you count it that way. I say she's going on 39, but I've been married to her for 44 years, so you figure out the math. But I just want to take that opportunity to wish her a nice Thanksgiving and a happy birthday.
Well, if she's not watching now, have her tune in at 6:30.
She'll have to watch.
Thank you. Stewart?
The only other thing I'd like to add is we've got that on the back page of your agenda. You can see where we've installed a few more yield controls in some neighborhoods where there hadn't been traffic controls previously.
Thank you. Ms. Jackson? Captain Martin?
No report.
Lieutenant, I'm sorry. I'm in Milford J. Clayton.
Nothing to add, and I so moved.
The great anticipator. I have a motion to adjourn. Thank you.